So we are recording. Excellent. So, hi everyone. Well, welcome to this November edition of the GDG Cloud Montreal meetup. Thanks for joining us. And well, today we're just gonna focus on security with GCP. That's the main topic that we're gonna cover today. So most of the stuff is gonna be around security command center. We'll have demo. Also, stuff you can also run on your by yourself on your side. When you're not busy. So we'll just you'll meet your speakers. A few things, like just basic. How you do Q&A and stuff like that. I just want to cover. It's going to be super fast. A little piece of GCP news. Basically, some of blog posts worth sharing actually with all of you, with the links also. So you'll be able to refer to them later on if you want to. And then we'll just hit our main topic of security in GCP with Jan from Google. So we'll just go from there. So just for your speakers, well, myself, I'm Stacy Verono. I'm a senior pre-sales cloud engineer at SADA, and also one of the co-orgs of the GDG Cloud Montreal meetup. Joining me today is going to be Jan Belrose, so infrastructure and security specialist at Google Cloud. I'll let him intro himself when we hit this section, but he's our main speaker. I'm just there to do the MC and the intros and the little news piece. So we'll get to the main topic super fast. Just a little TLDR. So if you want to ask questions, if you are in the chat within Bevy, you can see there's a Q&A, like there's general Q&A and DMs. So in Q&A, please use this to ask your questions during the event, so that way we can moderate and actually get a trace of every question that's popping in. And feel free to ask questions in French and English. On peut vous répondre en français, or we can answer in English. Not a problem. More than happy to. If you're more comfortable asking a question in French. So that's for that. Just gonna hit really quickly, and then I'll pass it on to Jan. The GCP news. So basically, just blog posts we're sharing with you all from since the last meetup to this one. One thing that I found really cool is that there was a post, and of course, like right now you don't have the links. I'll paste all the links in the chat so that way you can go and get them. It's most of the time people say, oh, okay, well, how do I actually access a fully private GK cluster? Most of the time say, yeah, well, you can, it's like, how do I do that? My GK cluster is fully closed. My managed control plane is also in a other peer network that Google managed for me. So what's the best way, the more secure way, since we're talking security? And the idea is that, well, you can use a jump VM. So basically, you spin a small compute that's hooked up to the VPC of your GKE project within the same subnet range as your compute and the nodes of your GKE cluster. And that VM, you can front it with IAP, which is identity aware proxy. And IAP allows you to do authentication with your users, but also like 2FA and multiple ways of doing that. So you authenticate through to your VM as a user who has the rights to go through identity-aware proxy. And in your VM, you can actually set up a proxy, tiny proxy. You can also do like IP masquerading with like port forwarding. So basically, when you log into your environment and you want to do like a kubectl something in your cluster, well, from your, let's say, your work environment or your desktop at home in your not in the cloud shell, but I mean like really from home or your laptop, if you do G-Cloud or if you want to do kubectl, then you're able to do that, and you're gonna hit when you authenticate, you're actually hitting like a local address that forwards that through IAP to your proxy, and it's your cluster. So it's a great way of being able to not open a door to your cluster, but going through something that's authorized from A to Z. So that way it's a great way to hit your GK cluster manage. So I thought it was worth knowing. In the this one I'm going to go fast also, but most of the time, like we do a lot of tests, we do a bunch of stuff, and sometimes your environment is a mess and there's a bunch of stuff everywhere. Maybe some stuff like you're not using anymore. There's a GitHub project called Cloud Blaster. So basically, this project will just this little piece of code will actually just go through some specific stuff that you're setting and say, hey, well, like this has been inactive for XYZ time. Do you want to clean that up? So for everything that's a sandbox or testing or everything, it's super nice. So it's just a little piece of code that there's a bunch of bash in there and everything, but always useful. To keep your environment clean, because in the end, if you have VM that are doing nothing, well, you're still paying for them, so you want to make sure that stuff is clean. So just to keep things tidy, have a look at Cloud Blaster. Again, I'll post the links in the chat, so don't worry, you'll have them. Another one that was worthy of of sharing is like the 9 things I freaking love about cloud identity and environments. It's basically that article is it's coming from an AWS hero who is now doing a GCP journey. So you have the view of somebody who's using AWS or is an AWS hero and say, well, like, wow, this is really awesome the way it's done on Google. So it gives you the vision of somebody who's like, yeah, I'm an AWS guy, but now I'm doing the GCP track, and say, oh, well, this is really awesome. Like, this is the way Google is doing that is really well thought of, and it gives you the points, all those points around like those elements. So I thought it was really interesting. It's always like who's the best, but in the cloud wars. But this one was really saying, okay, yeah, well, I can see the value of, and the way they were set up is really well thought. So I thought it was a worthy article. So have a look. Sorry. The other one is the way to back up BigQuery tables with table snapshot. BigQuery has time travel on it, so like you can back up, you can go back in time like 7 days without any problem, but you kind of need to know where within those 7 days your data was still kind of okay if you want to go back. So there's a like simple things you can do with BigQuery table snapshots. So there's that article covers the way you want to set it up and the way you want to manage that life cycle, even of those snapshots, and the way it's going to help you out more than time travel. Because if you want to back up, I don't know, like a month, well, you need to look into this. So that's a worthy article. So for some reason, saying that my internet is unstable. So hopefully, I'm gonna be okay. Another one, and I have 10. So is well, emails turns 50. So basically, the email is almost as old as me. I'm not gonna tell my age. Uh, so, and well, the beauty of this story is around, if you want to read about like the genesis of like where we're coming from email in like in 1971, with the first email being sent as an experiment, and the fact that it traveled just between like 10 feet between two computers to send a message, and probably the message was like QWERTY or something, like just like the top layer of the keyboard just slotting your end through, say, yep, I'm able to send a message. So it's really interesting. So I thought it was worthy of sharing because it's something that we use everywhere, even though we do instant messaging and everything. But the main thing around this is that it's the usage of the @ symbol. So the @ is everywhere. So from the genesis of the email to DMing people in whatever chat we're doing, the @ symbol has become something that we take for granted. So yep, it's @ something, I'm going to reach it, it's not a problem. So again, nice little article, worthy of reading. It's a quick read, so really gives you an idea of like the history of behind everything. Another one was around the Postgres extension turned into like cloud microservices. The TLDR of this is basically like if you want to migrate, let's say, from Postgres on-prem to Cloud SQL Postgres, like fully managed. So okay, cool. Like feature-wise, I'm okay. Like if it's running on Postgres, can run on Postgres, not really a problem. This article covers the example of say, well, if there's an extension for Postgres called PG cron, which people are using to, well, doing like cron jobs within the RDBMS itself. So The idea is that, well, okay, well, if you're using that, it's nice, but if you're going from to a managed service like Postgres or Cloud SQL, and well, PG Ground is not there as an extension. So like, what do you do if you actually need to do that? And what is that actually like sparks as a thought of like, well, should I do this differently? So the idea is that, well, if I need a cron job, well, there's something I can do. Actually, there's a scheduler in GCP. I can use Cloud Scheduler. I can also use Cloud Function. So that scheduler can actually trigger the function that's going to do the job that I needed to do. Um, and the idea behind that's like the transformation of the way they're using things to actually say, well, okay, well, I should use really the database for what it is, and all those things around. Like, should I like decouple everything? Um, so which brings it to like the microservices part. So I thought it was really interesting. It's a small thing, so it's a small detail that actually says, kind of triggers questions and say, well, okay, well, maybe we should look at other things we're leveraging that maybe we shouldn't, which actually makes us, a bit freer of moving our stuff around if we needed to. While still staying in the microservice and Kubernetes and so on. There's a new feature in GKE called image streaming. So basically, again, the TLDR for this is that it's leveraging. Well, it's from the artifact registry. So let's just imagine you have like your artifact is it's a Docker image, but it's based on an Ubuntu image, which is like way too big. Well, image streaming basically kind of it boots up your application before it's done deploying by leveraging a bunch of magic from containerd itself to be able to just like boot up stuff a lot faster for you, and also on the smaller size. So it's a really nice little feature. It's really, really super recent. So you have to navigate around it and say, how do I use it properly? But it's a great feature, and it's going to save time and money to a lot of people. So have a read. The other one, segue on money, and I think I'm almost done there. So Jan, I'll invite you to turn your camera on and get ready to rumble. Um, it's spot pods for GKE Autopilot. So basically, during the next recap, we've talked about spot instances, which is like the new version of like the like ephemeral VMs you were able to have before, but just take the same principle. Autopilot as an SLA at the pod level, so like it's always good, it's always nice, it's also always running, which is cool. But let's say if I want to leverage Autopilot, but I don't really care if about that SLA because it's a dev and test cluster or a batch workload or whatever. But then now you have that same feature of pods brought to Autopilot. So if you have fault tolerant workloads or you just want to do dev and test, this is there, which means that their price will go lower because you don't have an SLA on that pod itself, because you're using spot pods and leftover resources. So I think that was pretty cool, because we're all trying to save a few bucks where we can. So I thought that was the last one, so it's almost the last one. So, but it's a good segue because it's there's I've mentioned like the GCAT, like the Google Cybersecurity Action Team during the next 21 recap. They are now coming up with risk and compliance as code. So basically, it is code to help you maintain risk and compliance during the flow of the ongoing development of what you're doing. So it's really infrastructure as code. It helps you keep compliance and everything. It goes through partners and workshop and other things. There's a lot in there. So you'll have the link. Please go visit if you're really keen on security and want to learn more. It's a really great initiative, and it's even proving one step further the seriousness of security when it comes to the Google team itself and the way they see things when it comes to security and the way they can enable you, which is really great. So, oh, and that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one for real. Like sorry, sorry, Jan. Jan's just like this. Like, come on, man. So yeah. So, and that's kind of a segue for next month's meetup, where it's basically deploying microservices using Google Cloud Deploy. So it's a managed scaffold that's there. So when you see Cloud Build as your CI, you can see Cloud Deploy as your CD for microservices. So it's a very well thought of bundled application. So the scaffold piece that really brings you a lot of ease on deploying your microservices and the way you promote your environments and everything. So it's really nice. So have a look. It was just a little hint there. I'll paste the link. Those are the links. Of course, don't take a picture. I'll just post them. I'll just post them in the chat. And this is true now. I'm gonna I'll let him intro himself over his slide, and then I'll stop sharing so he can actually take over. So Jan, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Stacy. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you. I think it's the first time I'm presenting at GDG. I came a couple times. Few of my colleagues already came to talk to you, so I'm really happy to be with you, especially to talk about the security in Google Cloud. I've been working in security for the last 18 years in Montreal. I've been working with some of you. I already look at the attendees, and I've worked with some of you already in the past, mainly in entertainment. So I was for a few years in video game industry, anti-piracy. After I went a little bit more in political side of security by becoming a security officer for Cirque du Soleil for many years. Came back to technical and actually at Google for the last 3 years and a half. I'll say more recently, I just came back into security at Google. I was doing security for since the beginning at Google, but not full time. But more recently, I really fully dedicated my time into security. So if you have any question during the presentation, don't hesitate to use the chat and all the tools that Stacy talked to you about. I'm going to start to share my screen here to go here. I think I will try to add it a little bit bigger.
Well, it's not so bad. If you can go full screen, it's going to be perfect. So,
yes, it's more about, just wait. Sorry. I thought you were just taking my the presentation in not the full one. Okay. I think we're back. Almost there. Okay. On the preview side, it's look better.
perfect.
Not so bad. Not so bad. Great.
Yeah, cool. All right.
So let's start. Let's start this. Now you already know me. So I don't need to present myself. I did it already. So it's fine. Before we start, one thing I like to do is really to just look at few items that we're repeating to everyone, because there's a lot of misconception about how Google handling the privacy and the data. So I just want to make that clear with you, and more advocate have telling the same thing. That's helpful. First of all, the data you put on Google, it's your data. It's not Google data. We're not using that data to do anything. So for those of you who are afraid, or people that you're talking with, that is, oh, Google is going to take your data, they're going to build model on top of it, they will investigate, do mining on top of your data. We're not doing that. It's really different section of the organization, and everything in GCP is really your data. So don't worry about that. It's clear. There's a lot of white paper also talking about it. So I can provide a lot of proof for that. Another thing that people think that we're reselling data. We're not doing that. We're not reselling to third parties. We're not collecting your information or anything. Even if you're using emails, we're not reading the email. This is not how things are working. But there's a lot of misconception and bad understanding about how those things are working behind it. I'm going to jump a few of them. It's really just to give you a high-level idea about it. One thing very interesting with your data is every time you're storing data in GCP, you're sending data to GCP, the data is encrypted in transit. Not the data, but the channel of communication. So the channel of communication is encrypted, and everything at rest also. So when you store data inside GCP, you know that by default, if you don't enable anything, the data you store on GCP will be encrypted. There's multiple other things that we're not going to cover today that you can do to bring your own key or to manage your key lifecycle, to be a little bit more in control of how the encryption is working. But by default, everything is encrypted. Even if you said, no, I don't want to encrypt the data at rest in GCP, it's not possible. Everything is there. It's encrypted by default, no turn off key, which is great because it means that it's built really with security in mind, and you're not allowed to remove that security. Also, we're receiving a lot of questions about people asking, oh, but what if a government asking to get access to my data? We also have white papers. We're explaining how it works, how we're taking those requests from government or other instances, and we're sending it back to you, and you're taking the decision. Anyway, the data is encrypted with your own encryption key. So we need you in the process anyway. So you are in full control. And if you don't want to respond to a legal instance or government or any instance, that's really your choice, and the risk the business will manage. So this is not something we're opening the door and giving your information to anyone else. And also, we're having a lot of standards. So everything around GCP, we're looking at compliance standard. Stacy talked about the GCAT team and how we're working around that. We're having a lot of compliance. We're also having a website where you can self-serve yourself when you want to see what's the ISO compliance that we're having, the latest information, latest scan. You can get all those information. You can download it. The only things you need is a Google Cloud identity, and once you have it, you can download it. There's going to be a watermark on top of it just to prove that you are the owner of that document. So you're not allowed to share it on the internet or share it with a third party. But if you need to do it for any reason, you can contact your salesperson, or you write to me and I'm going to figure this out for you. There's a way also that we can allow you to send those very sensitive information to third parties. So it's really just to bring that in consideration. But one thing I want to talk today is really security at large inside GCP. Inside GCP, for those of you who work with GCP a little bit more, you know how easy it is to create projects and to create resources, start VM, creating firewall rules, creating stuff, and things are moving very, very fast. So sometimes if you're having a small, even with a large security team, it's almost impossible to follow the pace and follow the speed that the team is going to work. Especially when everything is as code and everything is automatically deployed. There's a rotation. It's hard to follow. It's hard to know when a developer will open, for example, a bucket with a public access, and anyone will get access to that bucket to get that information. Maybe it's normal, maybe it's legit, but it's very, very hard to get that information and follow what's happening. Or in the project, somebody deployed a new VM or open the firewall rules that that person is not supposed to open. It's hard to understand and follow that. This tool, Security Command Center, is it's in GCP. So every one of you can use it all the time. If you're not using it today, please turn it on. It's very, very important tools to have. And the reason why I say please turn it on, it's because there's two flavors of it. One flavor is free and one flavor is the premium one with premium feature. The one I'm going to focus a little bit more today is really the free version, because I prefer to have people with at least a basic security view than having no security at all. So don't wait to have the budget approbation or things like that to enable the security command center. Enable the free version and use it. That's going to bring you so much information. And later on, if you find it interesting or you say, oh, that's going to save me that amount of money or that amount of time by having the full version, there's business case we can do for the premium version. But if you don't use it, start it today. Even on my personal GCP account, I'm using it all the time. It's very, very helpful. Sometimes I'm working, doing labs, I'm enabling a VM, starting some firewall rules. As I realize, oh, I forgot to close the SSH tonight. For any reason, I let the SSH fully open because I was just making a task and, oh, no, I should have disabled that rules. So Security Command Center will really help you to have a global view around all your project in GCP. And that's the great thing. You don't have to go project by project to have a vision. It's really a global vision that you're going to be able to have with Security Command Center. As you can see, there are 4 pillars inside that tools. The first one is really the gain of visibility. This is what I was talking about. All the assets are going to be listed there for every project. You will know everything that's going on inside any projects. First pillar, having a visibility is super important. Second pillar, vulnerability scanning. We are going to look at that a little bit later, but we're going to look at all misconfiguration or potential problem in your application, and we're going to send you findings that we found inside those. That's really helpful to find misconfiguration and discrepancy with your actual rule sets. The third one, and starting to the third and fourth one, those are where we start to follow under the premium version. There's minimum access that you can have with the free version, but threat detection. We're looking, in fact, with the threat detection, we're looking at all the network communication, what's happening in the logs of VPC flow, DNS logs, VM logs, all those logs that we're looking to see if something's a little bit fishy is going on. For example, if you're infected on a machine and there's some crypto mining going on that machine, we know that those machines are connecting back to mining pool or they're transferring to a specific wallet or whatever. Those IP addresses are generally well known. So we know that you're transferring something. You know that there's a connection with something outside of the traditional way of working for that VM. And we're looking also at the trend. So we're able to give you the information that, oh, something is not working well here. You should look at that VM. It's way more precise with the premium version. And for the compliance, this is where it starts also to be interesting. With the free version of Security Command Center, you will have, for example, if you're having an open port on port for SSH is open on a VM, there's going to be a findings. That's going to be flagged a vulnerability, and we're going to give you the specific numbers on specific compliance that you're against. As an example, for the SSH open on a VM, it'll say, oh, you're in a breach for PCI, that specific number. This is that's the limit for the free version. With the premium version, we can give you a status of your organization or your project, or we can look at the folder level. So we can really give you an idea about what's your security posture against those specific compliance. Compliance are a little bit limited at the moment. There's 4 compliance. We're looking at PCI, NIST, CIS, and ISO. And we're giving you a report about all those things. And this is where I was telling you, maybe only having all those findings and giving you exactly the posture of your project or your organization may save you a lot of time. If you're spending 6 months of time just to gather evidence to provide a report for your auditor, maybe that feature will just change your life and it's going to just pay by itself at the end of the year. But this is not the one that I want to focus on. Today is really to look at what can we do globally with the platform. Here, still against the 4 pillar, but the one that we're going to focus today are really how to gain visibility, to know how things are working and how to discover those vulnerabilities. When I was working at Cirque du Soleil career working at Google, I was telling to my team, we need to know. If we don't know, if we don't see what's going on, that's going to be very, very difficult to move forward. And I prefer to know something that maybe it's not well configured. Maybe there's some security problem with that specific project, but I want to know it. Not knowing it is just the worst thing, because when something will happen, everyone will look at you anyway because you are the security person. You should know those things. And the gain of visibility I found very interesting, because generally people say, yeah, we're just small team, we're 3, 4, 5 person in security, don't have time to follow all those things. There's a company in France named Veolia. And Veolia, they are in charge of water supply for France. And the security team, I think they are 3 person. It's a really, really small security team. But Veolia, they handle over 2,000 projects inside GCP. 3 person, 2,000 project, almost impossible to follow. But they are using a security command center to gain visibility about all the projects. So they know exactly this week, oh, we created 10 projects, we deleted 4, we created that amount of VM or that amount of firewall rules. It's really helpful for them to move forward and understand. And on top of that, what is really interesting is all the automation you can do by knowing it. And this is what I'm gonna show you with the demo today. So it's gonna be really a little bit more focused on visibility and vulnerability today. So now it's great. It's great. You got it, but what can it do really? How it is and what you can see. So here, when you want to gain visibility, how it works. Now, I can show you inside the console. It's going to be quite the same things. We're listing everything, and when I said everything, we're listing all type of resources that you can imagine. Even if you create a route in your VPC, we're going to know it. Each subnet are there. We have a full list of everything. So it really gives you a good idea about the amount of things that you created, the amount of VM you have, amount of firewall rules and everything. So it's really, really helpful to have a global vision. Even when you have a small project with 2, 3 VMs or even just serverless stuff, so I have almost nothing, but it's false. There's multiple aspects that are created behind the scene, or security key, service account, so many things that you're not realizing that they are created during when you're using those tools. Those are going to be listed for you. That's going to help you to take action. But knowing it, having all that list is great. The update is there. And if you look at the console, actually in the free version, you can export those findings. You can export those assets. So even if they are in the console, you can export them into whatever type of file you want to make some correlation on the side. But still, you can go back inside the console and look at what was there 2 weeks ago. What was the discovery last month or in the 90 last days? It's really helping you to understand that. Here's just portion of things that you can find with the platform, but it's really just to give you an idea that we're taking everything in consideration and we're giving you a full list of different resources. The vulnerability. I'm moving fast a bit because I really want to show to you my small demo and how you can automate all those things. Here, in the vulnerability, this is where it starts to be very interesting, because having a full list of assets, there's few G-Cloud command that you can use to do something similar. But now with the vulnerability and the misconfiguration one, with the security health analytics module, this one is enabled by default in the free version, so you can't use it. And what this module is doing, this module is doing a common misconfiguration. I said one earlier about a public bucket open to the external. Maybe it's legit, maybe it's not. If it's even in both ways, if it is, you can whitelist it and you're not going to receive any alerts. But if it's not, you want to know it. Even if it's middle of the night, you want to know that someone opened a bucket publicly. So at least in the morning, you're coming back to the office, you can take action, or you can automate notification and even automate remediation, which is quite more interesting when you're thinking about it. But it's not only there for storage. If you're looking at networking, if you're looking at multiple configuration inside your GCP project, we're looking at common misconfiguration, and we're triggering alerts for you and findings, which is gonna it's very helpful. I think every time we're just running it, we're finding a bunch of stuff. So the first time you will start it, you will see a lot of findings. It's totally normal because probably you didn't realize that you had that much. But still, as soon as you did the first pass, you're going to solve all of them. You can put marks on the side saying, yes, I know this one. It's normal. This is a public bucket. This is what we want. It's publicly exposed in read only because we need those assets publicly available. But this is the kind of things that you will know very quickly with the platform. Another thing here is it's more how it looks. So as you can see here, it's just a list of findings, nothing very fancy. But the interesting things for each findings, when you're going to inside one findings, you're having a lot of information about that. You're saying, okay, here, let's take the open firewall example here. I'm going to say, okay, you're having an open port. SSH is open for everyone on internet. This is how you should configure the rules. So we're giving you a remediation. It's not automated. You need to do it by yourself, or you can make automation to do it for yourself, because for some reasons they put a limit there where they don't want to enforce everything. Sometimes there's a reason for you to have it open, but you have all those information. We're going to give you all the compliance that you're not compliant with. We're going to give you a lot of information. Which resource are we talking, in which project, under which folders, a lot of information. When you just look at the JSON that you're receiving for one finding, say, oh, okay, there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with that. And even with the potential remediation solution, that help you to figure this out. Oh, is it normal? Is it not? If it's normal, there's some marks that you can add on top of that finding, saying, okay, this findings, it's great. It's validated by that person at that time. So you can add marks on top of it. I think we released that feature today, but it was in EAP for a couple months now. It's now possible to mute some of the findings, saying, yes, I know this finding is there. I need to keep it there. It's going to come back for any reason. So you can mute that findings for you, or you can just disable this finding, saying, don't talk to me about that findings anymore. It's great for me. It's fine. So you have multiple ways how to handle those findings, and we're keeping tracks of how many things you resolve over time. So is the findings and the problems are increasing or decreasing for your project or your organization? That's going to help you to know if you're going in the right direction or not, or if you're stable. Quite helpful also for reporting to the management about what you're doing inside the platform, or how the DevOps teams are working and how they should imply the DevSecOps inside of them to have a different vision and reduce the fix that you have to do after they deploy their stuff. One additional things with the health module is really the web application vulnerabilities. So we're having a scanner inside GCP. It works for VM, GKE. It works for App Engine. You give the URL, and You let the tool scan your application. We're going to give you back information about more traditional, in fact, the OS top 10 that we found inside the application. But some applications, sometimes you're not able to find anything by crawling in the application and go. So if you're not finding everything, or you see in the report that, oh, it's supposed to go in that portion of the application and it's not going, you can add different URL inside of it. Sometimes it's because we're not able to go inside your menu because how it's written, or because it's not generated when a human is not there. So you can give them, and the scanner will go into everything to just help you to have findings. That's not, maybe it's not the final solution that you want, but it's a really good first scan for your application. If everything goes well there, it's not so bad. You're having a better posture. But if you start to receive alerts and problems show up, maybe it's going to be time to have a conversation with the development team to fix those. Here, it's an example about things that we can find here, cross-site scripting example, that the console is just saying, oh, here I'm finding this and that. And it's the same principle that with other vulnerabilities. You can just click on that. You're going to receive an information, a full report about what's going on with that vulnerability that we found. It's quite helpful, especially because it's free and inside the platform. So please don't hesitate to use it. Here, one thing interesting, I want to showcase something for you, because I was talking about the fact that you can automate stuff and you can receive alerts. So what I'm going to show you today is how, when you create a new asset, inside a new resource inside GCP, we're going to bring the same example. We're going to take the bucket example, but it can be any type of other potential problem in the platform. When you create a bucket and you put that bucket publicly accessible, that's a misconfiguration from the Google point of view. Inside Security Command Center, we're scanning because we're finding, oh, there's a new asset. That's a new asset. It's a bucket. And we're looking, oh, there's a findings too. It's publicly available. What's happening? We're going to show you in the console. But I want to avoid people to go in the console in the morning. Maybe it happened last time at 6 when you just left at 5, and that bucket was open for a long time. How can you receive it automatically on your phone? You can do it very natively in just a click if you're using the premium version. But still, because I'm targeting the free version today, I'm going to explain you how to do it. There's a couple of command line that you can run to achieve exactly the same thing. At the target here, I'm using Google Chat. It can be anything else. It can be an email, it can be an SMS, can be Slack, can be anything else. It's just because I found it interesting to use Google Chat to send my alerts here. So I'm creating my bucket. I'm opening it publicly. Security Command Center finds it. When it finds it, I'm saying to Security Command Center, send those alerts inside PubSub. So I've pre-created a PubSub SCC findings, and that findings is pushed inside PubSub. On the other side, I'm having a cloud function just waiting. And when something happens in the PubSub, the cloud function is triggered. I'm grabbing the message inside PubSub, and I'm looking at it. Say, oh, that's a public bucket open. I need to notify my security admin. And I'm sending a message directly to my phone. Here, in that example, because for reason of time, I simply use the incoming webhook inside Google Chat. So it's really one way of pushing information to a Google Chat space, or was named room before, and to push the information. It's not interactive. But the next version of this one, I will use the Google Chat API to create really a chatbot, to have a discussion between me and the findings and the bot in fact on the other side saying, as an example, instead of receiving only the alerts, saying this is the findings and I need to log in the console to fix this. Maybe I want to receive the alert and said, okay, just mute that alert or ignore that alert or disable it or even fix it. So having a bidirectional bot at that level can be interesting to automate the task. So in the same example, the bucket receiving the alert, if I'm saying, okay, fix it, and the bug number, the bot just take the right script, run the script against the bucket to close and remove the access to everyone. I'm going to show you live how it looks. So here, so we are inside Security Command Center. One things that you can see here, we're having vulnerabilities asset. Asset is really all the resource. Vulnerabilities are the vulnerabilities we're going to find. The findings are quite close, but here the findings, this is really what I'm going to target. And in the premium version, you're going to have two additional items here at the top where it's going to be threat and compliance. But still, everything will be you're going to be able to see portion of it with the free version. So as an example, let's go in findings just to see. Generally, it's faster than that, but when I'm presenting with my computer, it's just a little bit slow. Here, that's on purpose. Okay, there's no findings here in that organization, just for the reason that I just cleared them all before that demo. What I'm going to do, because everything is already set up, but I'm going to show you all the command line how to do it. Here, I'm having a bucket. The bucket is actually not open publicly, but I'm going to open it publicly. And at the same time, let me just put this one here on the side because we want to see the alerts getting in. Okay, here. So what I'm going to do, I'm creating my bucket, and now I'm at the stage where I'm going to put that bucket accessible publicly. So I'm going to put all users, which means everyone, no authentication needed. So really everyone. And I'm going to give the role as a bucket reader as an example. So when I'm going to save it, there's going to be a change in configuration inside GCP. Security Command Center will see that there's a discrepancy in my configuration because it's a misconfiguration pattern for it. The message, the findings will be sent to PubSub. My function will trigger, and I'm going to receive the alert inside Google Chat here on the side. So here's my Google Chat. I'm having my security channel, security alert channel here. And we're going to see here it's going to happen. So I'm going to just save it. It's not in near real time, but it's close to it. So I said, yes, I confirm this is what I want to do. I want to publicly open my bucket. I'm publicly opening it. And if the demo god is good with me, great, sounds good. Here, what did I find? I'm receiving an alert from the bot that I created saying, oh, there's a findings here. There's a public bucket ACL severity high for inside that project. This is the time of my findings. In here, that's going to give me a direct link to go back to that resource to fix this out. I just didn't put everything inside the, here probably because I'm between 2 or 3 accounts. Maybe it's not going to load perfectly. It's not going to load, but anyway, you get it. I'm bringing you back directly to the right information. I'm doing a filter here, not to send all the information because the JSON contains a lot of things. Let's just go see inside that findings. If we're going back to Security Command Center, right here, I just refresh this one, the source, going back to findings. coming back here to show you what we can find inside that specific findings. Here, okay, so we're having exactly the same thing that we receive in Google Chat. I'm just going to open it. And here, this is all the information that I'm receiving. So I'm receiving an overview about what it is. I said here, all users represent anyone on internet, and all authenticated user represent anyone authenticated with a Google account. So still, they're giving me a little bit of information about what's going on. They're giving me the change was detected by the security health analytics, the time, because if it's not fixed, we're going to just bring it back after a couple of hours saying it's still not fixed. I'm going to send you another alert. So we need to fix it at some point, or just telling to mute or ignore. And here I'm having a lot of information from that specific finding. So it's a same format as the JSON, is just presented a little bit differently. Here, if I'm going to source and properties, here the compliance standard. So I'm receiving, even with the free version, I'm receiving the information about ISO, PCI, CIS, and NIST. Those are the place where I'm not aligned with the compliance. That can help me also to raise the case and fix this out with the project if it's the case. Here I'm having a small explanation about how things, and also have the remediation. If I want to automate stuff, it's already pre-built because I have all the information. I know which resource, which project, what was the configuration discrepancy. So it's still a good portion of doing it. In my case, I was sending an alert to me, but you can also set, if it's a public bucket, don't send an alert to say it's there, but also start a script to fix it automatically. You don't want that open. So there's depending how you want to create your code and your bot inside GCP, that's really up to you, but there's a lot of automation that you can do here. So a lot of information, and all those fields are the fields that you can do to send the information or filter through that give you all of that. So here it's good. So if I said, okay, in my case here, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to put it inactive. So now, even if after the next scan come, there's no, it's not going to be there. I can go back and just say, okay, show me all inactive. So now you're going to see all the inactive stuff that I put on the side. And just to prove you that it was not all the lineups, okay, I'm going to re-enable this one. My filter is very clear. So if there's a new finding, if there's a findings and it's not fixed, send the alerts. So because I'm going to re-enable that findings, I'm going to re-enable it. So now it's re-enabled. Here, I'm give another alerts here about the open firewall, still high, and giving me the link here to fix this. So it's really just a general configuration that you can use to send any type of alerts to your system. If you're interested to replicate that and leverage the power of that tool in your organization or even personally, you can do it. Here in the presentation, there's a link for I put it on my small blog. So if you want to replicate here, it's exactly the same thing that I explained to you, same exact thing. Google, they also have a similar demo, but they're not targeting chat. They're using SendGrid to send an email. It's quite similar, but you also have all the requirements how to do it exactly. The limitation I was talking about, the incoming webhooks, that is really one direction. It's not a conversation to fix stuff depending of what you do. And here, if you go a little bit down in the blog post, there's all the command line that you need to do, because there's a few elements. So you need to create your pub subtopic. You need to give you the right to create that pub subtopic. So if you don't have right, it's important. So there's a couple of tasks to do at the project level. And for Security Command Center, because the free version, you only have access at the organization level. The premium version, you can go and have a more specific view, but the free version, you need to go back at the organization level. So you need to be sure that you are Security Command Center admin to create, or at least notification admin to create specific notification and see those alerts. But everything is defined here. So if you want to create those, it's here. Here, even I've created a small filter. So I'm filtering on findings for high or critical, which are in active state. But here you can create whatever the type of filter you want. And you can have multiple configuration also saying, oh, I findings are going to that topic in PubSub, and those critical are going to that other specific one. So you can really route everything you want. And here, all the configuration, how you can do it, how to create your notification to receive it. And even here, I give you a small link to how to create a webhook inside Google Chat. Very, very easy. 2 clicks, it's there, very efficient. And even the actual small code to create my cloud function, it's in Node.js. And the small findings, how I'm creating the message. So because you've seen all the other metrics inside the console, you know that you can add whatever you want here in the message. And here, that's the same result that I show you about how you can receive those. I really, really, truly believe that automation is really the key here. We need to have a full automation system to win. Things are going too fast. People are creating things too fast. It's really, really hard to keep the pace and being able to, yeah, just being able to configure and change all those stuff all the time. You're going to be a fireman, and this is not how you want to be. Automate your stuff. Here in GCP, you have the perfect tool to do it. I put the link also in the presentation about how to start with Security Command Center, how to enable it, and the first steps. I didn't went into all the premium feature, but here there's a very, very interesting demo about KTD, which is the container threat detection. Very interesting demo. And here the automation demo was talking about Veolia, and they're explaining the automation they're doing to close a public bucket, quite similar to what I did here, but they're explaining their thinking behind the scene. So as I said at the beginning, if you're not using SCC today, even the free version, please do so. It's really an amazing free tool that you can leverage, and everyone in your team will say, how that person can be so efficient. So it's really, really useful. So I hope that's give you a good overview and a very small and quick overview of Security Command Center, and hopefully you're going to be able to use it in your organization or for your personal project. And I'm looking at the time. We're close to the end. Is there any question?
You're good on the timer, man. That's good. That's awesome. So yeah, well, so far there's no question, but people, if you have questions, now it's the time. At the same time, say, well, for Security Command Center, if you're using stuff like DLP or if you're using Forseti to do a bunch of stuff for security that's automated through Terraform, it actually hooks up to Security Command Center, so you can see your stuff there. So deployed Forseti before, and it's a great thing to add there also. Then to do your validation also, like for Terraform validation, also you can do with Forseti Terraform thing that use the open policy format. So it's a great tool. Again, like you said, there's a free version, so use it. It's free, so that's good.
That's my best selling line. It's free. Use it.
It's free. It's free. So yeah, for once there's something and it's free, so please use it. So I'm just gonna go there for myself in there. I'm just gonna wait. If I don't see, maybe there's something in general. No, just somebody says great presentation. So get direct feedback, Jan. So
Good.
so well, if that's the case, it's 1 p.m. So I'm just gonna wrap things up super quickly. Then we'll be on time. So there's a there's a next event coming. Well, next month, December 16, we're going to cover CI/CD in GCP. So from your source code to cloud build to cloud deploy. So we'll have Dave Sanders from Google in Toronto, who's gonna show us the entire package. So again, a mix of information and demos to wrap up the year. I want to thanks again to Jan. It was a great presentation. Thanks for joining. Thanks for everybody who actually joined today. I know we're recording this, so. There was a few people who jumped in just to know if we were recording because they had to jump out. So they will be able to, by 3 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be on our YouTube channel and updated within the event page. So for those of you who are there, I've pasted those information before at the beginning of the thread. There's you can join us on Slack, on Twitter. There's the YouTube channel links are there also at the top of the chat in general. We would love to have feedback. So if you're able to fill in the quick survey, give us an idea of how we did, what would you like for us to cover for the upcoming year. That would be awesome. And maybe you never know. Maybe we'll be able to do a live event in 2022. That would be awesome. So we'll cross fingers and hope for the best. So again, people say they're definitely gonna try it. So you just you have
Great.
yeah, you sold the Security Command Center free version, so that's cool. Excellent. So again, thank you everyone. Thanks again, Jan. That was awesome
My pleasure.
as usual. And we'll have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in December for our last event of the year. Thanks everyone.